So far, we've been saying, oh, researchers, they don't want to share their data, they're being selfish, they want to get all the publications out of it themselves. But maybe there's something they're not considering. And maybe the thing they're not considering is actually, if you posted your data, it might actually be good for you. And not just good for you because your university might condition getting tenure on you being a proponent of open data. That would be different. That would be like a regulation. This would just be like in the sort of like sphere of the debate over ideas and the intellectual community, you will have a higher profile if you share your data with the research community. Now, if that's true, then it's sort of like, hey, you're being dumb. Put the time in and share your data. You're going to get more citations. People are going to build on your work. And maybe you're being short-sighted by not sharing your data. So maybe people are being lazy, and they're not assembling the replication code. But if they put the effort in, it would actually be to their benefit because other people could build on what they have been doing. OK, so let's talk about the Pirawar and Vision piece. And the goal of this piece is to test this question. Does open data, does making your data public increase your citation count? So what do? They assemble 10,000 papers, again from biology, on gene expression microarray data. That sounds really cool. I have no idea what it is. And they classify the availability of data for these different studies. Does making your data available increase later citations? And they find that it does. They find that on average, articles that have the data publicly available got 9% more citations. Now, it turns out that papers that have just been published in the last few years don't see any of this sort of benefit. It sort of seems to appear over time. So once you're like 5, 6, 7 years ago, then the citation increase for papers with publicly available data is 30%. And they have evidence a lot of the data sets are reused by others. So this, if it's real, provides a professional incentive to post your data. Now, the problem with this is that these studies may be different. People who post their data may be different than those who don't post their data. For instance, if people request my data, I may be, because they're actually interested in my study, like they're citing my study, they may be more likely to request it and I may be more likely to post it. If that's the case, this correlation is problematic. Now, they have said they have 124 different characteristics on all these papers, and they control for all these things, and they control for the cite count of the lead author, and they control for the exact subfield, and all these other things. But to the extent there's still some kind of effect, which is like, I post my data when there's demand for my data, and there's demand for my data when I have a good paper that's being cited, then this correlation's harder to interpret. Like, you want some exogenous push in data posting, like because of a journal requirement or some other requirement. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too cynical, but I just don't know how convincing at the end of the day it is. It's suggestive. It's like a neat finding, and it's cool that they're doing this kind of research, but I think we probably need a little more research design, meaning some sort of quasi-experimental or experimental variation to be convinced.